last time this signal flashed, Bitcoin had a 30% correction. Are we going to get a 30% correction this time? But let's start off with Bitcoin on the daily to talk about that signal. And that's flashing. And this is the RSI. The RSI is showing a bearish divergence right here. We can see higher highs in the price chart from mid-July, first high, to mid-August. And in the RSI, we see the opposite. Lower highs. And why is this significant? Well, it's significant because look what happened last time. What is the history of this indicator signal flashing? Higher highs were created right here and lower highs in the RSI just before we saw a correction of 30%. Look at this. Top to bottom, 30%. So we're in all likelihood in a correction period for Bitcoin before we go higher. But it's not only the number, the percentage term that matters, it's also where we bounced off of, and that is this blue line. We met a long-term weekly support, because if Bitcoin has a 30% correction, we're actually going to break it. So before we even get to a 30% correction, we're going to have to meet the decision point, which is this blue line of support. So let's zoom out on the weekly, and we can see it starts all the way since December 2022, the bottom of last cycle. And it's been respected 4 times, and now it looks like by mid-October, the first half of October, we're going to be introduced to this blue line of support again. The decision point between if we break through it and essentially start a bear market, or we get a strong buying pressure come in and we get this bounce for our blow off top in November, December, before we have a massive correction and then enter the bear market. So how can we trade this, and what is the importance of it in the short to mid term? Well, the importance of it is that it looks to suggest that our worst case scenario, if we are on track, if we are following the same pace we're currently on in this correction, that we meet this blue line, and our lowest price that we correct to before we bounce is at around 105 to 108,000 US dollars. That's the good news. But to use it more usefully, what we can do is pull up some horizontal support lines, and you could use this in conjunction with this to see that we have support coming in before potentially we meet the long-term support. So we can see one at 105. There's another one around 107. Look at this. And one more I'm going to put on screen is, we can see one. Right. We could use it there. Like that. 110. So what the strategy you hypothetically could do if you're entering a long position looking to trade a bounce off of here is set, because we don't know when we are going to be introduced to this line, is set conditional orders that are filled once we reach these price points in a long position to trade them higher. And perhaps we may not even reach 105. We'd have to drop pretty fast to reach 105. We may not even reach 107. But if you set a few of these conditional orders, you could trade them as a bounce. So that's my Bitcoin analysis. I'm going to show you one last thing I want to talk to you about for Bitcoin I'm seeing in the charts before I talked about Ethereum, and that is the volume, and that is the long-term volume. Look at this. The long-term volume has been decreasing all this time. Going back, I mean, you can go back to the weekly. Oh, hold on here. We don't even need to find the exact date. Let's just, you can see it pretty obvious. The volume been decreasing. And any time we have sustained a volume decrease, we know, in conjunction with consolidation, that it's a strong indicator that once we start forming a pattern, once we see some other bullish indicators in the chart that break out, and we get a confirmation of a volume breakout, a big fat green candle surpassing the trend, that we're in for an explosive move. So that's what I want to bring to your attention. We have the blue line of support, the orange line of support, but remember, we still could be forming another pattern. We still could start to form a symmetrical triangle. We could form a cup and handle. We could form anything. So have patience. That's one strategy, but always pay attention to the volume, which is suggesting that we're in for a big move soon once we break that volume trend. So that's what I wanted to show you for Bitcoin. Now let's wrap up with Ethereum, and that is showing an ascending triangle. Okay, Ethereum is showing an ascending triangle on the daily and the 4-hourly right here. And how you could trade Ethereum is, what you could do, as we're in for a consolidation, is number one, of course, when this triangle breaks out, either for a long or a short position, you could trade it like that. But in the meantime, you could do a similar strategy, trading a bounce. So once we reach this point of support, you could have a small long position up to the resistance at around 4,700. And that's just a little pattern showing in the charts that I wanted to present to you. Hope you did enjoy this video. I have one request if you came all the way to the end, and that is to leave me feedback in the comments. What is good about this video? What you wanted, what you didn't see in this video that you hoped for? What's bad about it? Just give me some feedback, your opinion. It means a lot. And until next time, I'll see you. Bye bye.